He touched me, the little girl whispered to her mother. What her mother did will shock you. Clare realized that something was wrong with her daughter. Lately, Isabella had become strangely fearful. Every time someone came close, especially when Mr. Robert appeared, the little girl would shrink back, clinging tightly to her mother. Her big brown eyes were filled with panic, and her tiny hands gripped Clare's dress as if letting go would send her plunging into a bottomless abyss. "Mommy, I'm scared," Isabella whispered, her voice trembling so much it was almost inaudible. Clare knelt down, gently taking her daughter's cold little hands. "Isabella, sweetheart, what happened? You can tell me. I'll protect you." But Isabella only shook her head firmly, her lips pressed tightly together, refusing to say another word. That night, Clare sat down next to her best friend, Mary, a woman in her 30s with long chestnut curls and sharp, perceptive eyes. Mary was the only person in town Clare trusted. "Clare, don't you think there's something strange about her? Earlier I tried to get close to Isabella, and she flinched like I was about to hit her," Mary said quietly, her face tense with worry. Clare sighed, her hand clutching the edge of the tablecloth. "I know. Every time Mr. Robert shows up, she hides behind me. I don't understand why. I've asked her, but she won't tell me anything." Mary bit her lip. "Do you think Mr. Robert did something to her?" Clare shuddered at the thought. Mr. Robert was the most powerful man in town, a terrifying figure. But if he had really done something to Isabella? "I don't know," she whispered. "But I'm going to find out the truth." 2 days later, while Clare was helping Isabella change her clothes, she noticed a long bruise on her daughter's arm. "Isabella," she cried out in alarm, grabbing the little girl's arm. "What is this? Who did this to you?" Isabella immediately pulled her arm back, hiding it behind her. "Nobody, Mommy. I just fell." "Isabella, tell me the truth." Clare's voice sharpened. The little girl looked at her mother with frightened eyes, then shook her head. "It's nothing, Mommy. I'm fine." Clare felt something was terribly wrong. Her daughter had never hidden anything from her before. And the way Isabella seemed so scared, avoiding her gaze. She couldn't let this go on. The very next day, Clare went to Mr. Robert's mansion. He was sitting in the large living room, drinking wine. The luxurious leather chair beneath him only added to his imposing presence. When he saw Clare walk in, he gave her a crooked smile, but his eyes were as cold as ice. "Clare, what a surprise to see you here. What brings you by?" he asked. Clare swallowed hard, her hand tightening around the hem of her dress. "I want to know what's going on with my daughter, Mr. Robert. She's terrified every time she sees you. And I just found a bruise on her arm." He chuckled dryly, leaning back in his chair. "Kids fall down. It's normal." "But she's not the clumsy type," Clare shot back, her eyes sharp. Mr. Robert set down his glass and stood up, walking closer to Clare. "Are you accusing me of something, Clare?" Clare felt her heart pounding. His breath was cold as a deathly wind. "If you didn't do anything, then why is my daughter so afraid of you?" He shrugged, smirking. "Maybe she's been influenced by the stories overly cautious mothers like you make up." Clare glared at him. She knew she couldn't expect a confession from this monster. When she left the mansion, Clare stopped by her neighbor's house. Mrs. Valerie, an older woman who always seemed friendly, opened the door. "Clare, is something wrong? You look tense." Clare bit her lip. "Do you know what's going on with Isabella? She seems so afraid of Mr. Robert." Valerie immediately turned pale, glancing around as if afraid someone might hear. "Clare, don't talk about that here. If Mr. Robert finds out, you'll be in trouble." "But I need to know the truth," Clare nearly pleaded. Valerie shook her head, her voice trembling. "Don't ask any more, Clare. I can't help you." Clare felt a wave of anger and helplessness rise inside her. The next morning, Clare decided to go to the police station. Sheriff James Walker, a middle-aged man with graying hair and dull eyes, sat behind his desk with his arms crossed over his chest. "Clare, what brings you here?" he asked. Clare took a deep breath. "I want to report Mr. Robert. I suspect he did something to my daughter." James frowned slightly, but then he sighed and shook his head. "Clare, you have no proof. But my daughter's terrified of him. I saw a bruise on her arm." James shrugged. "Kids get hurt playing all the time. That's not evidence." "You're protecting him, aren't you?" Clare shouted angrily. James narrowed his eyes, his voice lowering. "Listen to me, Clare. You don't want to make trouble with a man like Mr. Robert." Clare felt a chill run through her entire body. "What do you mean?" James stood up and moved closer to her, his tone full of warning. "He has power. If you keep pushing this, you're not going to like the consequences." Clare stared at James, realizing that even the police couldn't help her. As she left the station, a cold wind rushed down her spine. Someone was watching her. She turned around. A man in a black coat, his hat pulled low to cover most of his face, was standing on the corner of the street. Clare's heart pounded. Mr. Robert knew she had gone to the police. And now he was watching her. Clare clenched her fists. He might have power, he might be able to silence an entire town, but she wouldn't let him hurt her daughter for one more second. She returned home, anxiety twisting in her chest. The threats from Mr. Robert were getting clearer by the day. He wasn't just a powerful man, he was a ruthless one, willing to do anything. The next morning, when she stepped into the bakery where she worked, Mrs. Margaret, the owner, was already waiting for her, her face grim. "Clare, I'm sorry, but you can't work here anymore." Clare froze. "What? Why not?" Margaret avoided her gaze, her voice dropping. "I can't say much, but you've crossed someone you shouldn't have." "Mr. Robert?" Clare's voice caught in her throat, her eyes narrowing. Margaret swallowed hard, then gave a small nod. "I don't have a choice, Clare. If I keep you here, the bakery will be shut down." Anger flared hot in Clare's chest. He could manipulate the police, and now he was interfering with her job. No. She wouldn't let him destroy her life and her daughter's life. She returned home, still stunned from being fired. But another blow was waiting for her. As soon as she stepped into the yard, Mr. Grant, the landlord, was standing there waiting. "Clare," he said firmly. "You need to move out immediately." Clare's mouth fell open. "What? But I already paid this month's rent." Grant sighed, not meeting her eyes. "You know why, Clare. I can't have Mr. Robert coming after me. I have a family to protect. But what about me and my daughter? Where are we supposed to go?" Grant shrugged, his voice low. "I'm truly sorry, but you have 2 days to leave." Clare felt her head spinning. He had taken her job, and now her home. What did he want? That night, Clare went to Mary's house. Mary opened the door, her eyes filled with worry when she saw her friend. "Clare, you look awful. What happened?" "Mr. Robert." Clare hissed through clenched teeth. "He got me fired, evicted me from my house. I have nothing left, Mary." Mary opened the door wider, pulling Clare inside. "Can't you fight back? We can do something together." "No one will stand with me," Clare shook her head bitterly. "He has too much power. He can make anyone disappear with just a word." Mary squeezed her friend's hand tightly. "But you have me. You and Isabella can stay here for a while." Clare felt her eyes sting. She gripped Mary's hand. "Thank you, but I'm afraid it's going to get even worse." Mary frowned. "What do you mean?" Claire took a deep breath, her voice full of despair. I feel like someone's watching me. I know Mr. Robert isn't done yet. Mary gripped Claire's shoulders tightly. You can't let him win, Claire. We have to do something. Claire nodded. But how could she fight a monster like Mr. Robert? Claire woke up in the middle of the night. A cold breeze was creeping through the pitch-black room. A sense of dread flooded her chest. Isabella, she called softly. There was no answer. Claire sat up straight, her heart pounding hard. She rushed to her daughter's bed. It was empty. Claire felt like the world was collapsing around her. She ran out of the room, frantically looking around the dark house. Isabella. No one answered. The front door was wide open. Someone had been here, and had taken her daughter. Claire's legs trembled, but she couldn't stand still. She bolted out onto the street, running wildly through the pouring rain, banging on every door she passed. Please help me. My daughter's been kidnapped. But no one opened their door. Everyone in town was afraid. They didn't want to get involved in Mr. Robert's business. Claire kept running, her breath ragged, her heart pounding as if it were about to explode in her chest. At last, she reached Mary's house, banging on the door like a madwoman. Mary rushed to open it, her face pale when she saw Claire. Claire! What's going on? Isabella is gone. Mary's mouth dropped open. What? Someone took her. I know who did it. Claire turned and ran toward Mr. Robert's mansion. Mary immediately ran after her, trying to stop her. Claire, wait. You can't just storm in there. He has guards. Isabella is there. I know she's there. Mary grabbed her friend's arm, her eyes brimming with tears. But you'll get yourself killed. Claire looked straight into her friend's eyes, her voice steady and fierce. If I don't do something, my daughter will never come back. Mary trembled, but then she bit her lip and nodded. Then I'm going with you. Claire clenched her fists and headed toward Mr. Robert's dark mansion. She would not let him take her daughter away. When they arrived, the iron gate was locked tight. But through the window's gap, Claire saw Isabella. The little girl was curled up on a chair, trembling. Mr. Robert was leaning down next to her, whispering something into her ear. Claire felt her blood boil. You bastard, she growled, ready to charge in. Mary grabbed her. Claire, don't. You can't fight him alone. Claire took a deep breath. I'll do whatever it takes to save my daughter. Mary squeezed her hand tight. Then we'll do it together. Claire nodded. Then, without hesitation, she rushed forward and kicked the door with all her strength. The door burst open. Mr. Robert spun around, his cloudy eyes flashing with anger and surprise. Claire. She charged at him, her eyes blazing with fury. Give me back my daughter, you monster. Claire lunged at Mr. Robert like a mother lion defending her cub. She wasn't afraid anymore. She didn't care who he was or how powerful he might be, all she could think about now was Isabella. Mr. Robert stepped back but quickly regained his composure. He sneered, his voice cold. Claire, do you really think you can stand against me? Claire clenched her fists, her jaw tight. I don't need to think. I just need to get my daughter back. Isabella was curled up in the chair, her tear-filled eyes shaking as she looked at her mother. Mommy. Mr. Robert chuckled. You should know, Claire. Everyone in this town fears me. What do you think you can do? I'll never let you hurt my daughter again. Claire screamed, charging at him. She threw a punch straight at Mr. Robert's face. He hadn't expected her to attack, so he didn't dodge in time. Her fist landed hard, making him stumble backward. But within seconds, he started laughing. Oh, so you've got some fight in you after all. He lunged forward and slapped Clare across the face with brutal force. She crashed to the floor, pain burning across her cheek. "Mom!" Isabella cried, jumping from the chair, trying to run to her mother. But Mr. Robert grabbed her wrist and squeezed tight. "Not so fast, my sweet," he said with a terrifying smile. Clare pushed herself up, her eyes burning red. "Let her go." Mary charged from behind, grabbing a wooden chair and smashing it over Mr. Robert's back. Crack! He roared in pain and released Isabella. The little girl instantly ran into her mother's arms. "Mommy!" Clare hugged her tightly, tears streaming down her face. "It's okay now, sweetheart. I'm here." Mr. Robert, still dazed from Mary's blow, turned toward the two women in front of him. He snarled. "You think you can get out of here that easily?" He pulled a knife from inside his coat, the cold steel glinting under the dim light. Clare felt her heart stop. "Mary, run! Take Isabella and get out of here," she shouted. But Mary didn't run. She stood in front of Clare and Isabella, her eyes shining with fierce determination. "No, Clare. We finish this here and now." Mr. Robert sneered, raising the knife. "Then I'll send all three of you straight to hell." Clare grabbed Isabella's hand tightly and pushed her toward the door. "Run, baby. Run now." Isabella shook her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "No. I'm not leaving you, Mommy." "Isabella, run now." Clare shouted. The little girl bit her lip hard, then turned and ran outside just as her mother told her. Mary grabbed a flower vase and hurled it straight at Mr. Robert's face. He dodged, but it gave Clare just enough time to charge in and kick him hard in the knee. Mr. Robert stumbled, but he didn't fall. He quickly regained his balance and swung the knife at Clare. She stepped back in time, but the blade still grazed her arm. Blood oozed from the cut. "Die, you stupid woman," he roared, lunging at her again. Isabella ran outside, her heart pounding wildly. She had to find help. Suddenly, she saw a man approaching the mansion. It was Mr. Michael, a former police officer who had once been wronged by Mr. Robert. Isabella rushed toward him, grabbing his hand. "Mr. Michael. Please help my mommy. Mr. Robert is hurting her." Michael frowned, his gaze turning ice cold. "Your mom is inside." "Yes. He's trying to kill her." Michael clenched his fists. "You did good, Isabella. Now stay right here. Let me handle this." Inside the mansion, the fight raged on. Clare was exhausted. She had nothing but her bare hands, while Mr. Robert had a knife. He swung the blade again. Clare wasn't fast enough to dodge this time. The knife stabbed straight into her shoulder. Clare screamed in pain, but she didn't go down. Mary rushed in, yanking Mr. Robert's hair from behind, throwing him off balance. At that exact moment, a gunshot rang out. Bang! The entire room went silent. Mr. Robert froze, his eyes wide. Michael stood in the doorway, holding a gun steady in his hand. He had fired a warning shot into the wall. "Drop the knife, Robert." "Now," Michael ordered. Mr. Robert clenched his jaw. "Michael? You think you can stop me?" Michael took a step forward, his eyes sharp and cold. "I've been waiting for this day for a long time, Robert. Did you really think I was afraid of you? Today, I'm ending your reign myself." Mr. Robert roared and charged at Michael. Thud. Michael punched him hard in the face, sending him crashing to the floor. For the first time in his life, Mr. Robert was powerless. Clare, holding her throbbing shoulder, forced herself to stand. "He can't just get away with this." Michael smirked. "He won't, Clare. I promise." Outside, the sound of police sirens wailed. Isabella ran back inside and flung herself into her mother's arms. "Mommy! Are you okay?" Clare hugged her daughter tightly, tears streaming down her face. "I'm okay now, sweetheart. I'm okay." Michael watched as the officers came in and handcuffed Mr. Robert. "This isn't over yet, Clare. But at least, for now, he won't be threatening you or Isabella anymore." Clare looked at him, her voice full of gratitude. "Thank you, Michael. If it weren't for you." Michael shook his head. "The only person you need to thank is yourself, Clare. You're a strong mother." Clare cradled Isabella close, kissing her daughter's hair. "I'll never let anyone hurt you again." Mr. Robert, his hands bound tightly behind him, didn't look afraid at all. On the contrary, he wore a smug grin, his sharp eyes gleaming like knives. Clare clung to Isabella, her heart still unable to believe it was real. He was finally caught. But, was it truly over? Michael stared at him with pure disgust. "You're finally going to pay, Robert." Mr. Robert chuckled, his voice hoarse. "Michael, you think I'm so easily taken down?" Michael tightened his grip on his gun. "The police have enough evidence to bury you. You're not escaping this time." Mr. Robert shrugged as if none of it mattered. "You think so? We'll see. How many of these cops do you think really want me in jail?" Michael clenched his teeth. "I'm not like the corrupt officers you've owned for years. You think everyone is afraid of you?" Mr. Robert laughed, leaning his head back as if he'd just heard the funniest joke in the world. Michael, you think you're a hero? I bought them a long time ago. You think you can fix this rotten system? I won't even need to go to court. A few phone calls and I'll be out of here without a scratch." Clare shuddered. He was right. He had controlled this town for so long, and everyone was terrified of him. But Michael stayed calm, though his eyes flashed with fury. "You're not in control anymore, Robert." At that moment, another group of officers entered the mansion. Leading them was the new sheriff, Richard Pierce. Richard was a tall, broad-shouldered man in his middle years, with a stern face and an unwavering gaze. He walked forward and looked directly at Mr. Robert. "Mr. Robert, you are under arrest for abuse of power, child abduction, and assault. You have the right to remain silent." Mr. Robert narrowed his eyes at Richard, his voice dropping low, filled with menace. "Richard, do you even know what you're doing?" Richard didn't blink. "I know exactly what I'm doing. And I'm not like James, I don't work for you." Mr. Robert squinted at him, but this time, his smirk disappeared completely. The officers dragged Mr. Robert outside. He didn't struggle. He didn't scream like other men facing prison. Instead, he turned back and stared straight at Clare. "This isn't over," he said. A chill ran down Clare's spine. He smiled then, a cold, haunting grin. "Clare, you think you've won? I still have plenty of ways to deal with you. If you think this is the end, you're dead wrong." Richard gave a sharp nod to the officers. "Get him out of here." But Robert's final words echoed in Clare's mind long after he was gone. He wasn't going to stop. After the police left, Mary ran over and grabbed Clare's hand. "Are you okay?" Clare nodded, but a vague sense of dread still gnawed at her. "Mary, do you think he meant it?" Mary frowned. "What do you mean?" Clare glanced around the now empty mansion. "Do you think he really has a way to get out?" Mary sighed, holding Clare's gaze. "I don't know. But either way, you can't keep living in fear. You fought too hard for this." Clare tightened her grip on Isabella's small hand. She knew Mary was right, but something still felt wrong. The next morning, the entire town was in an uproar as news of Mr. Robert's arrest spread across every newspaper. Mrs. Valerie rushed to Clare's house, breathless as she spoke. "Clare! Have you seen it? The whole town knows now. Claire opened the newspaper Valerie handed her. On the front page, bold letters screamed. Mr. Robert arrested, his crimes finally exposed. Claire's heart pounded in her chest. Mary stood behind her, quickly skimming the article. The police found enough evidence. They have testimonies from people he threatened. Valerie nodded. But Claire, there's something else. Claire looked up. What is it? Valerie lowered her voice. They say, someone is trying to help him escape from prison. Claire froze. That can't be. Mary clenched her teeth. You see, Claire. He has allies. If we're not careful, he could be out soon. Claire felt the blood drain from her face. That night, Claire couldn't sleep. The fear inside her grew heavier by the hour. She turned to look at Isabella, seeing her daughter sleeping peacefully in her arms. She wouldn't let anyone take their happiness away again. But just then, her phone vibrated. Unknown number. Claire felt her breath catch in her throat. She picked up the phone and held it to her ear. Claire. She froze. That voice. You think this is over? It was Mr. Robert. You can run, but you can't hide forever. I'll find you. And this time, no one will be able to save you. The line went dead. Claire trembled, her heart pounding so hard it hurt. He wasn't done. He still wanted to destroy her, and Isabella. Claire gripped the phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. No. She wouldn't let him win. She had to do something. There had to be a way to end this darkness once and for all. Claire looked up at the night sky. The fight wasn't over. She let the phone slip from her fingers, her hands shaking uncontrollably. He had called her. Mr. Robert was in prison, but somehow, he was still able to reach her. Mommy, what's wrong? Isabella's voice made Claire jump. She turned and saw her daughter rubbing her sleepy eyes, her face still drowsy. Claire took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. It's nothing, sweetheart. Mommy's just a little tired. But Isabella didn't believe her. The little girl stared at her mother, her big brown eyes filled with worry. Mommy, what are you afraid of? Claire swallowed hard, forcing a smile onto her face. It's nothing, Isabella. Everything's going to be okay. But would it really? He had threatened her. He wasn't giving up. The next morning, Claire made the decision to see Sheriff Richard Pierce. She went to the police station, but the moment she stepped inside, every pair of eyes turned to her. Some officers whispered among themselves. Others avoided meeting her gaze altogether. Claire felt it in her gut, something was wrong. When she entered Richard's office, he was sitting behind his desk, his expression tired and tense. Claire, what brings you here? Claire sat down across from him, her hands clenched tightly together. I got a call. From Mr. Robert. Richard's head snapped up immediately, his face even more strained than before. You're sure? Claire nodded and pulled out her phone. I didn't record it, but I know his voice. It was him. Richard clenched his jaw, drumming his fingers on the desk. He's being held in solitary confinement. No one's allowed to communicate with him. Claire shivered. Then how did he call me? Richard let out a long sigh and leaned back in his chair. Someone helped him. Someone, still loyal to him. At that moment, an officer knocked on the door and stepped inside. Sheriff, we have a problem. Richard frowned. What is it? The officer glanced at Claire, then lowered his voice. James Walker, he's gone. Claire's eyes widened. What? Richard's brow furrowed deeply as he shot to his feet. What do you mean? He was fired, wasn't he? Yes, sir. But this morning, when we were investigating the call from Mr. Robert, we discovered that James was the one who smuggled a phone into him. Claire felt a chill crawl up her spine. James, the former sheriff, was still working for Mr. Robert. Richard ground his teeth and slammed his hand down on the desk. "I'll issue a warrant for his arrest immediately." But Claire knew it wouldn't be that simple. If James had helped Mr. Robert once, he'd do it again. And who knew what else he was planning? After leaving the station, Claire went straight to see Mary. "What did you just say?" Mary gasped, her eyes wide with shock. James was the one helping him? Claire nodded, her voice tight with worry. "He's disappeared. And that means, he could be planning something." Mary bit her lip and tapped her fingers anxiously on the table. "Claire, I'm serious. I don't think you should stay in this town any longer." Claire shuddered. But deep down, she knew Mary was right. Isabella walked into the room then, her eyes full of questions. "Mommy, where are we going?" Claire looked at her daughter, her heart aching. She didn't want to run. But if they stayed, would they ever be safe? That night, while Claire was packing their things, her phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a call. It was a message. Unknown number. Claire swallowed hard and opened the text. "You can run. But I'll always know where you are. I'm always watching you, Claire." Claire felt the blood in her veins turn ice cold. She couldn't wait any longer. The next morning, Claire finished packing their bags and made the decision to leave town with Isabella. But the moment she stepped outside the door, a dark figure appeared. James. He stood there, arms crossed, a terrifying smirk spreading across his face. "Claire, where do you think you're going?" Claire froze. "James, what do you want?" He shrugged, his tone dripping with mockery. "You really think you can run from Mr. Robert? You think he'll ever let you go?" Claire swallowed hard, instinctively moving to shield Isabella behind her. "You can't do anything to me anymore, James. The police are looking for you." James chuckled darkly and took a step closer. "Oh, I know. But do you think I'm stupid enough to let them catch me that easily?" Claire stepped back, her heart pounding in her chest. James reached into his coat and pulled out a gun. Claire went rigid. She couldn't breathe. "You have two choices, Claire." James narrowed his eyes, his voice cold as ice. "One, you come back, pretend none of this ever happened. Two, he raised the gun, aiming it straight at her. I'll send you and your daughter to meet God." Claire froze, her entire body turning ice cold. James kept smiling, the gun steady in his hand. "So, what's your choice?" Claire stood motionless, her eyes fixed on the black barrel pointed directly at her. Isabella clung tightly to her mother's side, her tiny hands gripping Claire's shirt, her body trembling violently. James chuckled coldly, his voice like a chilling wind. "Well, Claire, what's it going to be?" Claire swallowed hard, forcing her voice to stay steady. "James, you don't have to do this. You can walk away. If you help the police catch Robert, they could offer you a deal." James let out a sharp laugh, his eyes filled with contempt. "You think I'm stupid enough to fall for that negotiation crap?" He stepped forward, forcing Claire to press her back against the door. "Listen, Claire. I don't like killing women and children. But if you keep being stubborn, I won't have a choice." Claire clenched her teeth, shielding Isabella behind her. "What do you want?" James smirked. "It's simple. You and the kid go back home. Forget everything that's happened. Don't even think about accusing anyone else." Claire frowned. "And if I refuse?" James' smile vanished. He raised the gun higher, pressing the cold muzzle against her forehead. "Then you and your daughter disappear from this world." Isabella whimpered softly. "Mommy. Claire felt her chest tighten, but she couldn't let James see her fear. She had to buy time. Suddenly, from a distance, there was the screech of tires on asphalt. James frowned, glancing toward the sound. A black car was speeding toward them. Michael. Claire seized the moment. She grabbed Isabella and shoved the girl to the side, then lunged at James. Thud. She threw the hardest punch she could straight into his face, sending him staggering back. James cursed, but he still held tight to the gun, spinning around and preparing to fire. But right then, bang! A gunshot rang out. James roared in pain, the gun falling from his hand. Michael jumped out of the car, still gripping the gun he'd fired. He's hit. Michael shouted. Claire, run now. James dropped to his knees, clutching his right shoulder where the bullet had torn through. He howled in fury. You think you can get away from me? Claire didn't hesitate. She grabbed Isabella's hand and pulled her toward Michael's car. Come on. Get in the car. Michael yelled, yanking the door open. Claire pushed Isabella into the back seat, then scrambled in herself. The moment the door slammed shut, Michael floored the gas pedal, and the car shot off down the dark street. Through the rearview mirror, Claire could see James screaming, blood running down his arm. But he wasn't dead. And he wasn't done. Michael drove toward the outskirts of town, finally stopping in front of a small house tucked away behind thick trees. This place is safe, Michael said, killing the engine. At least until we can track James down. Claire sat there, breathing hard, holding Isabella tightly against her. The little girl was still shaking, her face streaked with tears. Mommy, are we safe? Isabella asked quietly, her voice trembling with fear. Claire stroked her daughter's hair, forcing a smile. Yes, sweetheart. I won't let anyone hurt you again. Michael's voice was low and serious. Claire, I have to be honest. James isn't our only problem. I just got word. Claire stared at him. What news? Michael sighed, his face pale. Robert, he's out on bail. Claire shot to her feet. What? Isabella jumped, clinging to her mother. Michael nodded grimly. He's got people on the inside. They found a loophole to get him a temporary release while the investigation is ongoing. Claire felt another chill crawl down her spine. He was free. Just then, Michael's phone buzzed in his hand. He frowned and opened the message. His face drained of color as he read. Claire's chest tightened. What is it? Michael handed her the phone. Claire looked down at the screen. Claire, you can hide. But you can't escape. I will find you. And when I do, I'll take everything back. There was no name attached. But she didn't need to guess who it was from. Mr. Robert. He was back. Claire felt her breath catch in her throat. She couldn't keep running forever. She had to do something. There had to be a way to end this. She looked up at Michael, her eyes blazing with determination. We can't wait any longer, she said, her voice steely. We have to strike first. Michael nodded slowly, his gaze cold. I was thinking the same thing. Claire clenched her fists, staring into the pitch-black night outside. It was time to fight back. This time, she wouldn't let Mr. Robert get away. Claire tightened her grip. She couldn't keep running. Mr. Robert had returned, and this time, he wouldn't leave her in peace. Michael sat across from her, his face tense. Claire, I know you want to end this, but we need a plan. Claire took a deep breath, her voice hardening. He wants to destroy me. Then I'll make him fall first. Michael nodded slowly. I have some old friends, people who were once crushed by Mr. Robert. They'll be ready to help us. Claire looked him straight in the eyes. What are we going to do? Michael gave a dangerous smile. Hit him where it hurts. Mary arrived in the middle of the night, her eyes full of worry but firm with resolve. Claire, are you sure you want to do this? Claire nodded without hesitation. If we don't act, he'll keep hunting us. This time, we end him. Michael spread a map of the town across the table. Mr. Robert won't sit still. He's definitely planned a counterattack. But there's one thing he can't buy off. Mary frowned. What's that? Michael pointed to a location on the map. The Beacon newspaper office. They used to be afraid of Mr. Robert, but now, they might change their minds if we give them enough evidence. Claire understood immediately. We'll bring the truth to light. Michael nodded. Exactly. Once the world knows who he really is, he'll have nowhere left to run. Mary blinked, then nodded. I have a friend who's a reporter there. I'll contact him right away. The next morning, Michael took Claire to meet Mr. Frank, a former employee who had once worked under Mr. Robert. Frank was a middle-aged man. His eyes filled with fear at the mention of Mr. Robert's name. He forced me to do terrible things. I've had to stay silent all these years, Frank sighed. But if I speak out now, I could be killed. Claire clenched her fists. We'll protect you. But we need your help to expose him. Frank looked at them for a long moment, then nodded. All right. I'll tell everything. Claire, Michael, and Mary went to the Beacon newspaper office that afternoon. Julian Harris, Mary's reporter friend, eyed them with curiosity. Do you really have something that can bring down Mr. Robert? Michael placed a thick folder on the table. This is a list of all his illegal dealings. Julian flipped through the pages, his eyes widening. Is this real? Michael nodded. Every bit of it is backed by evidence. And if you need more, Frank is ready to testify. Julian let out a heavy breath, then stood up. I'll publish this immediately. But you all need to be careful. If Mr. Robert finds out, he won't let it go. Claire tightened her fist. We're ready. The next day, news about Mr. Robert flooded the front pages of every major newspaper. Crime lord Mr. Robert behind a string of illegal operations. Evidence reveals Mr. Robert involved in blackmail, threats, and police bribery. The entire town was in shock. Even those who had once bowed before him began to turn away. But the most terrifying thing was, Mr. Robert had vanished. Claire knew he wouldn't give up so easily. And just as she expected. That night, she received a message. You think you can take me down with a few newspapers? You're wrong. I'll take everything back. And I'll start with your daughter. Claire felt her heart tighten. He was coming. Michael rushed to prepare weapons, while Mary locked every door in the house. We can't let him in, Michael said. Claire held Isabella tightly in her arms, her voice filled with determination. This time, he won't get away. And then, footsteps echoed outside the door. Followed by a familiar voice, cold and terrifying. Open the door, Claire. Don't make me use force. Claire took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. You can't win, Robert. Oh, really? A gunshot rang out. The door was kicked open. Mr. Robert appeared, his eyes filled with hatred. You think you've won? No, Claire. I'm the one who's going to end this. He raised his gun, aiming straight at Isabella. Claire lunged forward, shielding her daughter with her own body. Bang! The bullet tore through the air. But just before it could hit Claire, bang! Another gunshot rang out. Mr. Robert's eyes widened, a red stain spreading across his chest. He staggered, then collapsed to the floor. Behind him, Michael stood holding a smoking gun. It's over, Robert. Claire gasped for breath, clutching Isabella tightly in her arms. Mr. Robert let out a dry, hollow laugh, blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. "You think this is the end of me?" And then he fell completely still, his breath fading away. Police stormed in. Clare held Isabella close, tears streaming down her daughter's face. It's over." Michael nodded, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You did it, Clare." Clare looked up at the sky as it slowly brightened. For the first time in so many years, she felt free. Isabella squeezed her mother's hand tightly, smiling. Clare whispered, "We'll never be afraid again." Clare was still breathing hard, holding Isabella close. She could feel her daughter's tiny heartbeat racing, but this time it wasn't from fear. Mr. Robert lay motionless on the floor, the blood spreading across his expensive dress shirt. Michael lowered his gun, his eyes still tense. "Clare, are you all right?" Clare nodded, but before she could answer, the door burst open and a team of police officers stormed in. Leading them was Chief Richard Pierce, his gaze unwavering. "Everyone stay where you are. No one moves." Richard quickly approached Mr. Robert, crouching down to check his pulse. A second later, he turned back and shook his head slightly. "He's dead." Clare took a deep breath, tightening her grip on Isabella. "He's dead." The nightmare was truly over. Richard turned to Michael. "I need an explanation." Michael stood tall, his voice firm. "Mr. Robert escaped from prison with help from insiders in the police force. He came here to kill Clare and her daughter. I had no choice but to shoot." Richard narrowed his eyes, then turned to Clare. "Clare, is that true?" Clare nodded firmly. "It's true. Michael's right. Mr. Robert has been threatening me for years. He never stopped, even after being arrested. If it weren't for Michael, my daughter and I wouldn't be alive right now." Richard was silent for a few seconds, then signaled to his officers. "Secure the scene. I want a full report." Clare held Isabella's hand tightly. "He's really dead, isn't he? It's really over, right?" Richard looked her in the eyes and gave a firm nod. "Yes. Mr. Robert won't hurt anyone ever again." A wave of emotion surged through Clare's chest. At last, they were free. The next morning, the entire town was in an uproar over the news of Mr. Robert's death. Newspapers ran bold headlines. "The end of Mr. Robert's crime empire, woman stands up against evil and wins." Mrs. Valerie, Clare's neighbor, knocked on her door early in the morning. "Clare. Did you see the news?" Clare opened the door and nodded. "I saw it." Valerie looked at her with admiration in her eyes. "You did what no one else dared to do. You brought him down." From behind, Mary stepped out and patted Clare on the shoulder. "I told you, Clare. You're a strong woman." Clare gave a soft smile. "It wasn't just me. I couldn't have done this without everyone's help." Isabella ran up and hugged her mother tightly. "You're the bravest person in the world, Mom." Clare held her daughter tightly in her arms, tears streaming down her cheeks. Finally, they could live a new life. A week later, the police publicly announced the full extent of Mr. Robert's crimes. Richard stood before a crowd of reporters, declaring firmly, "We have uncovered a series of documents related to Mr. Robert's illegal activities, including bribery, threats, and child abductions. He not only controlled this town for many years but also destroyed the lives of countless innocent families." The reporters held up their recorders, their questions fired rapidly. "What will happen to those who were involved?" Richard stared directly into the camera, his voice sharp and unwavering. "Anyone who aided Mr. Robert will be investigated and held accountable before the law. The police will not tolerate any criminal acts." Clare watched the press conference from home, tears of emotion welling in her eyes. At last, justice had prevailed. 1 month later, Clare decided to leave the town with Isabella. They stood at the train station, their luggage ready. Mary hugged her friend tightly. "Are you sure you want to leave?" Clare nodded. "I want Isabella to have a new life. Somewhere without the shadows of the past haunting us." Michael shook Clare's hand, his eyes full of respect. "Clare, you've done something extraordinary. Go live your life well." Clare smiled, then bent down and hugged Isabella. "Are you ready for our new journey?" Isabella beamed, her eyes sparkling. "Yes, I'm ready." Mary waved as the train slowly pulled away from the station. "Be happy, Clare." Clare smiled and held her daughter's hand tightly. They were leaving, but this time, it wasn't to run away. It was to begin a new life. 3 months passed since Clare and Isabella left their old town. Los Angeles, with its bustling streets and vast beaches, had become their new home. That morning, Clare stood in front of the bakery where she had just gotten a job. The owner, Mrs. Helen, a kind middle-aged woman, looked at her warmly. "Clare, today is your first day. Are you ready?" Clare smiled and nodded. "I'm very ready." Helen gave her a gentle smile and patted her shoulder. "You'll do just fine. I believe in you." Clare felt a warmth in her heart. Finally, after so many years of living in fear, she had found a place she truly belonged. That afternoon, when Clare picked Isabella up from school, the little girl chattered nonstop. "Mom, today my teacher praised me for being good at math." Clare smiled, gently brushing her daughter's hair. "I'm so proud of you, Isabella." Isabella grinned brightly, her eyes glowing. "You know what? I made a new friend at my new school." Clare tilted her head slightly, curious. "Who is it?" "His name is Matthew. He's really nice. He even shared half of his sandwich with me." Clare laughed, feeling a sense of relief in her heart. Her daughter finally had a normal life, no longer haunted by the past. That night, while Clare was washing dishes in the kitchen, her phone suddenly vibrated. She wiped her hands and looked at the screen. An unknown number. Clare frowned but still pressed the answer button. "Hello? Clare, it's me. Richard." Clare froze. "Richard? Chief Richard?" "Yes. I have important news for you." Clare felt her heart pounding. "What is it?" Richard lowered his voice, serious and grave. "We've uncovered the entire criminal network Mr. Robert built. Everyone involved has been arrested." Clare took a deep breath, but Richard wasn't finished. "And one more thing." "What is it?" "James." Clare shuddered at the mention of that name. Richard continued. "We caught him. He's now in federal prison. This time, there's no one left who can help him escape." Clare closed her eyes and exhaled deeply. At last, everything was truly over. The next morning, Clare took Isabella to the beach. The two of them sat on the sand, listening to the gentle sound of the waves. Isabella looked up at her mother, her eyes shining with happiness. "Mom, we're really safe now, aren't we?" Clare smiled and pulled her daughter into her arms. "Yes, sweetheart. No one can hurt us anymore." Isabella rested her head on her mother's shoulder, letting out a contented sigh. "I love it here, Mom. I feel like I can fly up into the sky." Clare held her daughter tightly, her eyes stinging just a little. Finally, they were truly free. A week later, Clare arrived at the bakery earlier than usual. Helen stepped out from the kitchen, holding a small box of pastries. "Clare, you did very well today. This is a gift for you and your daughter." Clare was touched as she accepted the box. "Thank you, Helen. I'm truly grateful for this opportunity." Helen smiled kindly. "It's nothing, Clare. I believe everyone deserves a new beginning." Clare felt her heart warm. This life, there really were kind people in the world. That afternoon, Isabella ran up to her mother, excitedly holding up a drawing. "Mom! I drew a picture of you." Clare took the drawing. In it, she and Isabella were standing on a beach, holding hands, bright smiles on their faces. Clare smiled, looking at her daughter. "It's beautiful, sweetheart." Isabella tilted her head. "Do you like it?" Clare bent down and kissed her daughter on the forehead. "I love it." Isabella grinned brightly, then skipped around the room in delight. Clare watched her daughter, her heart overflowing with happiness. This life had finally smiled upon them. That evening, Clare stood on the balcony, gazing out over the sparkling lights of Los Angeles. A gentle breeze drifted by, carrying with it a feeling of peace. She had escaped the darkness. She had fought. She had won. And now, there was only one path left, the path toward a bright future. Clare closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She was ready for a new life. From behind, Isabella called out to her mother, her voice full of joy. "Mom!" Clare turned back and smiled. "I'm here, sweetheart." And then, she stepped back inside, leaving behind all the shadows of the past. Clare and Isabella's story is a profound lesson in courage, motherhood, and justice. It reminds us that no one can escape the consequences of their crimes, no matter how powerful they are. Clare did not surrender to oppression, she fought persistently to protect her daughter and reclaim justice. The solidarity and kindness of those around her played a crucial role, helping her overcome adversity. In the end, justice always prevails, and those who bravely fight will find the happiness they deserve.